Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Despite being cross-division rivals, Alabama and Georgia will meet for the 8th time since 2008 on Monday night. 3 SEC championships, a national championship back in 2018, and now the two are set to square off again in the national championship on Monday. The thing is, Georgia has not defeated Alabama since 2007. All 7 of the previous meetings have been won by Alabama and Nick Saban. The Bulldogs falling in heartbreaking fashion in the 2012 SEC Championship, the 2018 SEC Championship, and again in that infamous 2018 National Championship game, 2nd and 26, as we all remember. Georgia fell to Alabama 41-24 in this year's SEC Championship, but now they get another crack at the Crimson Tide. The million-dollar question is, can they get revenge over Nick Saban? Can they get revenge over the greatest dynasty, perhaps, in college football history? Can they finally take down Nick Saban for the first time since 2007? We're going to be in for another epic national championship, another instant classic between the Bulldogs and the Crimson Tide, and we are here to break down everything you need to know and, of course, share who will be the college football national champion in 2022. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and, of course, check out everything down in the description below. You know, we've gone through every single bowl game. We have hit over 65% of our bowl bets this year against the spread. So if you missed out signing up for our expert picks, we hate that for you, genuinely. The good news for you is if you sign up now, you will get all of our spread picks, all of our expert picks for 2022, everything this college football season coming up has to offer, and you can get all of our NFL spread picks, all of our NFL playoff picks that will be released here in the following weeks as we get into the postseason. So it's never too late to sign up for the Expert Picks, guys. It's a year-long subscription, one of the lowest prices in the country. And again, we're beating out over 80% of the national analysts, and the bowl picks right there just show you how it's done, beating out everybody in the country. So make sure to go take a look at that, guys. Go sign up for those today, because if you sign up with us, you are going to win. So let's take a look, guys. Number 3, Georgia. Number 1, Alabama. The national championship game, the final college football game of the year, and what a season it's been. Finally getting back to a sense of normalcy in a season that has been one for the ages. Very similar, many would say, to that 2007 season, yet still our national championship is coming down to the 2 teams that for the longest time we have pegged as the top 2 teams in the country. Georgia owning that number 1 spot for the majority of the year, Alabama for the most part right behind them. So let's take a look at the offenses first, and we'll start with the Bulldogs. Coming into this game having beaten Michigan in that playoff semifinal, taking down the Wolverines 34-11. Not even close. Absolute dominating performance by Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. And, you know, on offense, going into that game, the question was who was going to be quarterback, right? If you were a Bulldog fan, did you really want Stetson Bennett going out there, especially after he played relatively poorly against Alabama in that SEC championship game? Well, I think Stetson Bennett silenced all the doubters and all the critics in that Orange Bowl victory over Michigan. Not only has he thrown for over 2,600 yards and 27 touchdowns on the year, against Michigan, he went 20 for 30, so completing 2/3 of his passes, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Without a doubt, the best game of Stetson Bennett's year. Now, I would say career, maybe career for some, but best game of his season. He saved it for the Orange Bowl to silence all the doubters. So Stetson Bennett's the man. JT Daniels is not going to start this national championship game. JT Daniels will not see the field in this national championship game, barring some injury or terrible performance from Bennett, maybe possibly reminiscent of what Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa did back at 2018 national championship. Bennett has got to be able to come into this game, guys, and redeem himself from that Alabama SEC championship game, one where he threw 2 interceptions, one of them being a very costly pick 6. That's going to be the key here. Can he get revenge over Alabama? Can he play better than he did the first time against the Crimson Tide? Georgia, guys, still offensively is one of the best in the country, 39 points per game, nearly 450 yards per game, including 194.6 on the ground. We know that Georgia, yes, has a capable quarterback, yes, has a capable wide receiver core, but they want to be able to run the football, and they want to be able to bully you up front, both on the offensive and defensive line. Really, for Georgia, they've got to find a way to have success on the ground. That's how you're going to beat Alabama, is by maintaining balance. And they've got the guys to do that. Zamir White, James Cook. Those running backs are more than capable to pick up the slack and put up the numbers against Alabama. But they only mustered 109 yards against the Crimson Tide in the SEC championship game. Georgia only rushed for 109 yards versus Alabama. Compare that to 190 rushing yards they had against a relatively stingy Michigan rushing defense just last week. That's going to be the key here. The offensive line has got to get enough push. The offensive line has to create holes for these running backs to allow Georgia's running backs and allow that Georgia running game to take off, maybe set up the pass for Stetson Bennett, create balance. If you are an offense and you're one-dimensional against Alabama, you're not going to win. When you look at Alabama, they are the best offense in the country, and I think we can all agree with that. Why wouldn't you be when your quarterback is the Heisman Trophy winner in Bryce Young, who has thrown for over 4,500 yards, 46 touchdowns, and just 5 interceptions? The Alabama offense, guys, 41.1 points per game, nearly 500 total yards per game, 336 of those coming through the air because, again, you've got a great quarterback in Bryce Young who takes care of the football and has one heck of an arm. All of that, again, coming in just his first year as starter. You look at the Cincinnati game, everybody's going to say, Alabama didn't play that great. They only beat Cincinnati 27-6, right? Still a pretty solid performance against a very good Cincinnati team. Bryce Young had 3 touchdowns, 181 yards, and the reason that his numbers weren't that great is because Alabama was playing bully ball up front with their run game led by Brian Robinson, who had 204 rushing yards against a stingy Bearcats defense. A Bearcats defense that was so good against the run, but yet somehow gave up 301 rushing yards to Alabama. Alabama found their run game against Cincinnati. I'm not here to tell you they're going to find it again against Georgia, but the run game was something that had not been nearly as good as it's been in years past, but they showed up and were able to dominate up front in the trenches against Cincinnati, and that's what helped them get that 21-point victory. That's how they did it. I would expect to see more of Bryce Young in this game against Georgia, just like we saw in the SEC championship game. Expect to see more of him. Expect to see more of Jamison Williams, a guy who has obviously played great, but has had to step up even more than he did already after the loss of John Mechie in that championship game against Georgia. Again, Jamison Williams over 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns on the year. Alabama had 536 yards of offense against Georgia last time they played in that SEC championship game. 421 of those came through the air, 115 of those came on the ground. And to beat Georgia, you need to kind of replicate those type of numbers, especially on the ground. You need to at least hit about 100, 115 or more rushing yards to give yourself a chance because Georgia's defense is so dang good. This is a strong defense, guys, and for the majority of the year, really up until they played Alabama back in December, many consider them to be the best defense in the country, maybe the best ever. Alabama kind of silenced that for a little bit because, like we mentioned, they had over 530 yards of offense last time they played. This Georgia defense, though, guys, look at the rest of the numbers. 9.5 points per game they're allowing. That's ridiculous. 81.7 rushing yards per game they're allowing. That's ridiculous. And that's the key number right there. Can Georgia crack down on the run? They did a pretty good job of slowing down Michigan last week. Obviously, that was a Michigan team that wanted to rely heavily on the run and was bullying people in the Big Ten left and right with their run game. Georgia wasn't going to allow that. And I'm not out here to say that Brian Robinson and Alabama are going to put up over 300 rushing yards again. But if they can get that 115 number, they can get 120. Anywhere between, and really just for me, if I'm Alabama, get over 100. Crack the century mark. If you can do that, you know your passing game can have success. But have some semblance of balance, and that's going to be getting over 100 yards, and Georgia is going to have to find a way to prevent that. Georgia held Michigan to just 91 rushing yards last week. 91 rushing yards for a team that was averaging well over 200 per game. Alabama's numbers are nowhere near that. But again, they were able to get that the last time they played. So Georgia, the key defensive lead. Shut down the Alabama run game. Make them one-dimensional. Don't allow them to eclipse the century mark. And win the turnover battle. Georgia forced 3 turnovers last week against Michigan. That was huge in terms of them winning by, 23 points? Georgia did not win the turnover battle when they played Alabama. They lost it. Stetson Bennett had, 2 interceptions in that game? Again, another costly pick 6 in a 41-24 loss. They have to win the turnover battle. They have to force turnovers. That sounds easier said than done. That sounds like common sense, but it's not. It's not. If Georgia can win the turnover battle and keep Alabama's offense off the field and give Georgia's offense a short field, they will convert. They will convert, no doubt about it. Alabama, you look at their defense, guys. It's a defense that I think a lot of people have slept on a little bit. I think, it has not been the same strong, stingy defense that we've seen in the past under Nick Saban, but it's been good enough. It's been good enough. And to me, this is a defense that's gotten better and better as the year has gone on. Alabama has allowed just 20.2 points per game, and like Georgia, so stingy against the run. The Crimson Tide giving up just 82.8 rushing yards per game. Remember, Georgia averaging 194.6 rushing yards per game. Which team is going to have more success on the ground here, guys? That's the million-dollar question. Again, last time these two teams played, Alabama only gave up 109 rushing yards. They won the turnover battle. Those were the two keys for Georgia, is to hold Alabama to under 100 yards on the ground and win the turnover battle, neither of which they did in the SEC championship game. Alabama is giving up nearly 225 passing yards per game. That could be a slight concern because Stetson Bennett has shown us against Michigan. He even showed us against Alabama in that first meeting back in December that he can put up the yards. He threw for over 300 yards against Alabama in that game. But obviously Georgia was behind. They need to hurry up and get back. And the two interceptions, obviously, I think marred what was overall a mediocre performance. You take away the two turnovers, a phenomenal performance by Stetson Bennett against Alabama, even if they were to lose that game by 10, 7, 3, however much it would have been. So that's going to be the key here. Obviously, for Alabama, is shutting down the passing game. If you can force a turnover or two for Stetson Bennett, you've got it. I believe Alabama has this game in the bag. This is an Alabama defense, guys, that held Cincinnati to 218 total yards last week. 218 total yards last week. And again, in that Georgia game, after being tied at 17, the defense locked down, allowed the offense to score 21 unanswered, had the pick six early in the fourth quarter. An Alabama defense has 52 sacks, 15 interceptions, can literally do it all. They have the talent and the mentality that they can go out there and take advantage of this Georgia offense because they did it the first time. And that's really where you're going to get into a mental game here is which team is mentally more prepared. You know, Alabama's like, we beat these guys by 17 the first time. Yes, a lot's changed since then. They've had more time to prep. It's very difficult to beat the same team twice. Georgia looked great against Michigan. We looked pretty good against Cincinnati is what Alabama's going to say. Georgia's going to over here and be like, yeah, we look good. But how much of that's going to be like, hey, last time we played Alabama, we lost by 17. We want revenge, but can we get a 17-point swing in the span of about a month? That's the million-dollar question. So, guys, this national championship, again, you might be getting tired of it. You might be getting tired of seeing Alabama, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia. Same old, right? But I can tell you one thing, that we've seen so many just blowouts in these playoff semifinals. We're not going to see a blowout in this national championship. We're tired of blowouts. We're tired of turning the game off at halftime. You won't do that in the Natty on Monday. This will be a much closer meeting than we saw back in Atlanta back in December. Much closer. Georgia will put up one heck of a fight. Alabama's going to have their hands full. But ultimately, Alabama will win this game. Alabama will win this game. I do not see a 17-point swing in the span of about 1 month. I believe Alabama has everything they need, pieces, everything, to stay balanced, hit that 100-yard mark on the ground. You've got the Heisman winner in Bryce Young, who continues to play lights-out football and I believe can exploit Georgia's secondary, which if you had to choose would be their weak spot defensively. And we knew that coming into the season back in August. We knew that. So I believe Bryce Young's able to put up the numbers. I believe Brian Robinson, Alabama's rushing games, are able to hit 100. And I believe for the second game in a row, Alabama wins the turnover battle over Georgia. And if you give Alabama's offense an opportunity, they will score. They will take advantage of it. So the Crimson Tide will force at least one interception off of Stetson Bennett. And I believe that literally will turn the tide, no pun or pun intended, of this game. Alabama will win the national championship on Monday night. Nick Saban will win his 8th national championship. Bama winning their 7th under him. And the Crimson Tide will win back-to-back national champions. Back-to-back national championships. And after a wild season, guys, where we all thought we might get someone different, we might see someone new, we are going to have the same champion. So after all the stuff that we went through in 2021, what a fantastic college football season it was, is going to end the exact same as the 2020 season did. Alabama Crimson Tide will be your 2021-2022 national champions when the confetti falls on Monday night. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. Again, we got our national championship spread pick over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. We're going to have all the spread picks for all the NFL playoff games over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. And again, it's a year-long subscription, so you buy now, you're already locked in for next season, and you come over there, you're going to win because we're beating out over 80% of the national analysts. Everybody can speak for that. The numbers speak for themselves. You're going to win with us here at the Gridiron Expert. So take advantage of that. Join our team today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.